So, who will take the hit? Evidence suggests that developing countries already struggling with social, economic, and environmental issues will suffer most from greater weather extremes and the increasing incidence of drought and floods. So it's us, it's the developing and the underdeveloped countries that will take the biggest hit. Why? Because we have our own issues, economic issues, social issues, environmental issues to address. On top of this, we have to deal with all this climatic catastrophe. Where are we going to put our resources? Where are we going to put our priorities? What is our focus going to be on? We need to do all. We need to look at the environment as well as look at the economic and social issues that we are still struggling with. We must find solutions for all, but we cannot keep the environmental issues on the back seat. They have to come up front, and they will have to take equal priority with social and economic issues that the government and NGOs and private sectors and everybody together are trying to address and solve. These regions include the Arctic region, Asia, major deltas, Bangladesh, China, India, Pakistan, and the Pacific, the Caribbean, Central Asia, Gulf of Mexico, Latin America, the Middle East, North America, the Sahel zone, and Southern Africa. So you see, the subcontinent is part of this. We are developing, hopefully we've crossed the underdeveloped category, but we are still developing. We have our own personal issues to solve and address. And they are not just economic and social, they're also political issues. There are cultural issues, there are safety issues, and all these myriad of issues that we must address simultaneously, including the environmental issues and issues of climate change, because if we don't, we see floods every year, monsoon after monsoon, we see the flooding, we see loss of life, property, animals, the environment, and what are we doing about it? Young people need to take the relevant steps. And that's why it's important to educate the young people in this area. Unless they are educated in this area, unless they understand why this is so serious, otherwise, for generations we've seen every monsoon the floods happen. It's like an annual routine. But why do we simply accept it? Why aren't we doing something about it? How do we know? We know, for years we've known that this is going to happen. But for the next year, we still do nothing. And it brings about the same devastation year after year, increasing at times. Climate change threatens the broader sustainable development agenda to reduce poverty and child mortality, ensure universal primary education for all children, and enhance gender equality. As this climate change affects, people die, cattle die, animals die, houses are destroyed and all that, poverty becomes worse. So instead of helping, it's actually making things worse. With more poverty, with more young and old dying, with no primary education because schools get damaged and so on and so forth, how are these children, young people going to survive? With every year we see these monsoon results of flooding and all the damage and death and all that it brings, and we hope to change that. We can't change that because it makes the situation worse. We have to be proactive. We have to stop being reactive when disaster strikes. We have to be proactive and try to minimize the harm disaster brings if we cannot actually do away with the disaster itself. It jeopardizes effort to meet the Millennium Development Goals, especially those related to child welfare. At the turn of the millennium, in 2000, Millennium Development Goals were set. We've not achieved those because we are still dealing with other issues. And now, as of 2015, the Millennium Development Goals actually have become sustainable goals. Are we able to sustain those goals? It's 15 years into the millennium. If we haven't achieved even some of those goals, then where is the sustainability factor? And that's what young people need to understand, that sustainability is of the essence. If we just hope somebody else will come and do the right things, that's not going to happen. We have to be the ones willing to take the first steps.